Beautiful morning, all of you. Welcome to this SIGA Sports Integrity Week. And I am Dr. Vipul Unawat from Pune, India, from the Institute of Sports Science and Technology. And today I'll be moderating the session on maintaining integrity in sports through technology. And we've got a panel of distinguished speakers from the sporting world. And we've got some technology experts who will be discussing about different aspects of sports technology and how we maintain integrity and ethics in sport. So before we start, let me introduce my panel of speakers. We have Sri Harsha, who is the head umpire at Cricket Finland. We have Nikhil Punde, who is founder of Spark Sports Technology, and we have Rohit Mishra, who's the marketing head at Acadware Softwares. So welcome all of you speakers, and thank you for joining in. I would request each one of
Thank
you to quickly introduce yourself and your experience in a short. Yeah, Harsha.
Sure.
Hi, good day everyone, and welcome to all the viewers and listeners. I'm Sri Harsha. I'm head umpire with Cricket Finland. I have a master's degree with radio communications degree in Finland. I pursued it in Finland. At the same time, I was passionate about the game of cricket and then got into officiating the game. So I'm currently an umpire with ICC. I've stood in matches in South Africa, Denmark, India, and also in Finland. So yeah, enjoying my game and love the game of cricket. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsha. Nikhil? Yes, Nikhil.
Hi, Vipul. Hello, everyone. Good day. Thanks again for having us here. Just a quick introduction. I'm Nikhil Punde. I'm the founder of Spark Sports Technology. It's a athlete performance management system more focused on youth and grassroots sports, essentially really helping digitize the whole performance journey and give insights to the coaches, to parents, to scouts, and various other stakeholders. So I think we'll get more into that a bit later. I've extensively worked in banking, in health technology, management consulting across US and India. And about a couple of years back, I moved back to India to start this company to really help the youth sports sort of take it to the next level using the right kind of technology.
Thank you, Nikhil. Yes, Rohit.
Hi, Vipul, and thank you, SIGA, for giving us this opportunity to introduce technology on a global platform. I come from a sales and marketing background for 14 years into the domain. Joined Acadware, which is a digital or ERP solution for global sports academies and grassroots business. We started around 3.5 years in sports in grassroots sports in India. Our journey so far manages close to 25,000 kids on their day-to-day activities of sports and giving academies a better way and to operate and become and get a standardization in the industry. So that's where our focus is, and we are still planning to expand our operations across the globe with such smart solutions which can enhance your operational value.
Thank you, Rohit, Nikhil, and Harsha for joining in. So let's begin our discussion on how sports technology has, actively affected the way sports is managed and perceived by the audience all over the world. And I'm sure all of us can relate to the fact that sports technology is more of how data is managed and how it has been used to make the right decisions on and off the field in sport. So my first question would be to Harsha. You've been in the cricketing world in all these years, and you've seen a lot of technology being used on field and off the field as well. So what is the take? What is your take on that? How technology has affected the sport? What are the pros and cons of technology?
Sure, Vipul. I mean, to bring context to this discussion, if you understand the flow of the game of cricket, we have overs, and each over is having 6 balls, and after each ball there's a delay of, let's say, 10 and 15 seconds where the bowler goes back and then starts preparing for the next ball, and then after the over there's also a delay of 30 seconds. So what traditionally started to happen is once the cricket started being broadcasted in cable TV network, the broadcasters' idea was to engage the fans. So once they started engaging the fans, they wanted to keep them engaged even between the balls and between the overs. So that's when they started to introduce the so-called television replays. So the evolution has started with, of course, the radio commentary, and then umpires used to just have a two-way radio where they would just communicate with the scorers and groundsmen on the field of play. But then as we moved on to, let's say, the television era, and then we had so much of broadcast and the fans coming into the picture, we started to get in the HD cameras and high definition cameras. At the same time, we have about 40 different cameras placed all around the stadiums, which take care of the videos. So this was a kind of invention to engage the fans, which was used by the umpires to make sure that decisions are so more or less they help umpires in making the decisions. So the main problem being to engage the fans, but the solution was something different here. So currently at the ICC level, we have three different kinds of technologies. One is what is called the ball tracking. Ball tracking has been used very much by the Virtual Eye. It's a company based in Australia, and one is Hawkeye based in England. And then we have what is called a snickometer, and then also hotspot technology. These are some of the technologies which are again used to engage the fans and now being currently used by the umpires to make sure the decisions are as accurate as possible. So the pros and cons, I mean, when I say the pros, umpires are now having an opportunity to go back, check, review their decisions made. So at the highest level, we have got an umpire coach who will go back and go through all the appeals made by a team and make sure that those decisions are based on what the technology is even trying to communicate. When it comes to the cons of it, of course, not every technology is 100% accurate, and the same is being proved with technologies like Hawkeye, Virtual Eye, ball tracking, where there are few instances where there's a lot of delay, and because of which the fans might get really frustrated during the overs. It takes a bit of delay to get the feedback and make the predictions or the path predictions for the ball. This has been one of the cons of using technologies by the umpires. But other than that, yes, this is still in the nascent stage, I would say. Things are being borrowed from the tennis federation, like the ball tracking, and now there's a new area of where umpires are testing the front foot no balls being detected by a third umpire sitting in a room with access to all the technology and the HD cameras. So let's see what would be the results of this.
Yeah. I'm sure, Arsha, you've highlighted how technology is being used to take correct decisions on field. Earlier, without technology, there were a lot of wrong decisions being made. But with technology, now the umpires can go back and correct the decisions as well.
Sure.
Amazing thing to consider. Next question is to you, Rohit. Today, like I said earlier, sports technology is all about managing the data. We get data can be in forms of video or can be in form of numbers. So how do you see it has impacted the integrity aspect in sport?
So data has no emotions attached to it. So that is the key factor of a data. So data has no emotion quotient attached to it. It is a fact, and that fact can be reviewed, observed, and analyzed over a period of time. And this is where any form of information inputted in the product or inputted into a candidate's against a candidate can be observed over a period of time. So there are certain things where you can correlate about his performance and his discipline, the numbers that he generates over a period of time. And this is where data actually comes as a very handy product, as a handy information rather. We ensure around us that there should be a check and balance of each and every data that enters in the systems. And I'm seeing there will be an inclusive environment coming up very soon in terms of data collection across the globe. So then it will be a much more filtered environment.
Okay. Thank you, Rohit. Now that we've spoken about data management, nowadays many applications and technologies are being used. So my next question to you, Nikhil, there are many sports technology platforms which are used today in the world, which provide good opportunities for grassroots athletes or even coaches to communicate with each other and get the best facilities. Yeah. So how it has provided equal opportunities for all stakeholders in the sport? So just
Sure.
your points on that.
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing that I've seen that technology is adding value is in terms of access to information and resources, which initially was restricted to just a certain group. Now it's accessible to athletes, coaches, fans who are sort of more at the youth level, at the local level, right? And that is, to your point, creating really the equal access or equal opportunity for all of them. So just giving a couple of examples from a athlete and a coach standpoint. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a growth in a lot of these training management softwares, video analysis softwares, right? These are sophisticated tools with rich analytics, and it's just on the phone. It's on the go. It's available in your palms, whether you're sort of on the ground, whether you're viewing from your house, right? So I think so that kind of connectivity between athletes and coaches, no matter if you are in a tier 2, tier 3 city in India, you can still connect to a coach in Australia, in US, and get the best sort of best practices, best techniques, and be exposed to that. Similarly, for coaches, you can scout for talent, you can look for talent with the growth of these video-based solutions. Coming to the tournament organizers, that's again, since we've worked a lot with the youth level events. I see a lot of the growth in video streaming solutions with a lot of these tournament management softwares. So Acadware is one of such companies. So with the growth of these tournament management softwares, you can actually bring in the whole sort of a complete experience at the youth and the sub elite level, which was initially just sort of possible at the elite level. So that's another shift I'm seeing in terms of sort of this equal opportunity. And lastly, I think really for fans, if you think about it, as Harsha briefly mentioned, but with the kind of camera setup with multiple angles, you have the whole 360-degree replay system, virtual reality. So no matter where you are in the world, if you're not able to, let's say, travel to US or Europe to watch your favorite tennis match or football match, you can still feel as if you are a part of the system, just with the advancements in the broadcasting technology. So just some high level, but I really feel that access to information resources, that's one of the key value that technology is providing.
Yeah. Specifically the OTT platforms, which there are so many apps which
Absolutely.
give access to
Absolutely.
big tournaments now, and people can access that get access over their phones.
And the best part about OTT platform, how they have developed is, Vipul, I personally believe they are giving a reach to the tier 3 kid.
Yeah.
On his phone, he can now see a tennis match when he has never imagined to play a tennis 5 years back.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this will give a huge boost to technology and to people inclusive to technology.
So let's talk more about the on-field decision-making technologies which are there in sports. We talk about the DRS in cricket, the decision review system, or say the goal line technology in football. So coming to you, Harsha, again, when we talk about decisions on the field, in the past we've seen many important matches where the decisions have been made wrong by the umpires, and they have cost a lot to the the other team. And we could actually see in the replays that the decisions were wrong, and the team actually lost the match. So how has these new technologies like the DRS helped umpires on field?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, first we have to understand that the so-called DRS technology and the ball tracking system is not 100% accurate. It is also, there is also a human intervention where, for example, let's say ball tracking. Once the ball is delivered by a bowler and it pitches and it impacts the batsman, the point of impact is the measurement is done by an operator sitting in a computer room. So based on his accuracy of detecting that point, further prediction of the ball will be made. So there is a human intervention there at that point of time. But yes, 95%, that's what the company also claims, that they are accurate to more than 95% of the times. But 95% of the time, yes, the technology is really helping us or aiding the umpires. But once an umpire goes back to the room, he has access to an umpire coach where he can start discussing what went through in his mind as an umpire while arriving at that process. Let's say an umpire said the decision is out, but the technology said it's not out. But this whole system is process driven. When I say process driven, there is a certain protocol involved. As you see most of the TV videos, that first thing they check is the front foot no ball using a normal camera, and then they check the ball tracking through spin vision, and then the prediction of the ball after the impact. So each one of them occur in a procedural manner, which means the audience, the fans, and the stakeholders of the game are now, they have a sense of trust because they see the process right there in front of them with their own eyes, and they believe that yes, the process has been followed, and then an outcome is decided. It's just that it's a human error with so many factors being considered at a point of, let's say, an LBW call. Maybe one or two decisions can go either way. But yes, we need not pinpoint at one decision at a time. It's a kind of group of decisions which might bring the result of a match to a conclusion. So one or two decisions, yes, either way it goes, but it's definitely aiding umpires to improve their performance.
So that's really great to see. Like technology is being used to give ethical and proper decisions on the field. And like you said, 95% the company claims 95% of the decisions are rightly done. So that's quite a good percentage. Obviously, human errors are there. Technology is at the end handled by the humans. So obviously there is some scope for human error. But I think
That's true.
we can in future try to reduce that. So talking about football, Nikhil, my next question is to you. When we talk about the goal line technology in football, so how does that aid the referees in taking decisions whether the goal was done or it didn't go in the nets? So how does that help?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think one of the things would sort of just want to highlight is a lot of these technologies, again, the focus is to assist the referees, the umpires, right? And in no way they're at a point to completely replace them. So I think the marriage of the data with the expertise is, I think, the right combination. Probably compared to DRS coming to goal line technology, I think one of the things that has worked for it is that it's relatively faster. So there's no as much stoppage in the game. Typically, in terms of there's a camera set up, the referee directly gets on the watch whether it's a goal or not, right? And the decision is announced. So it's a relatively faster process. So the nature of the sport and the game is not impacted by the use of technology. I think that's one positive thing I see about goal line technology. And I think there's always a fan aspect where the people watching the game, they're able to see a quick insight into how the decision was made, and that creates the sense of trust, right? So I think from both fronts, whenever we look at technology to assist the umpires, I think definitely there's a lot of innovation happening, and that really is helping take the game to the next level.
Next level, yeah. Thank you, Nikhil. So when we talk about all these technologies, aiding the umpires and not actually replacing them, it is all about how data is managed. So my next question to you, Rohit, is like when we say like so many tools and softwares and applications are used today in the world of sport to manage the data which comes in. It can be a video data, it can be some numbers which come in. So how can we see that these data can help in ethical or just practices in sport? How can sport be governed properly through use of this data? So your take on that.
So, my take in particular about this subject is the world is very soon moving towards an inclusive platform because a lot of information flow is there now. And with all these data coming together, there will be somebody who will be including it. And I'm sure companies like us has already started taking steps towards it. So we are connecting to different corners of the world now and asking them to share their knowledge base with us so that we can create a standardization in terms of performance analysis in our product. Or product like us can always do that because this data sooner or later comes to a common domain, a public domain. So I believe governments and private institutions should come together to do a inclusive program where they all can come together, can state standards. Those standards can be reviewed and audited by sports organizations and put it on a common domain or an open domain where performances can be measured based on those standards. if something that can be done, I'm sure products like SparUp or Cadways can provide you your next 10 Olympians in the next few years, because then you can create a standardization of performance of each and every aspect of sports science into the product, and then when the data is co-checked, the systems can give answers to the next future athletes or pro athletes of future. And this is where integrity will play a lot of role, because people who captures data have to be most integrated about it. And I believe that is where when you have a check and balance system across all the performance parameters, integrity can always be captured or always be intact.
Yeah, rightfully said. So when we talk about integrity now, let's talk about the performance technology which has been introduced in various sports. We see a lot of analysis and assessments being done on athletes with respect to their physical performance, and even there are a few tests which are done on athletes which would judge their mental state or mental strength as well. So when we talk about performance technology, coming to cricket, Harsha, how do you think technologies used in cricket have been used to curb favoritism in sport? And we've seen during selection, specifically in grassroots or youth sports, we've seen a lot of favoritism being done on athletes when it comes to selection. So how does technology help in selecting the right athlete?
Yeah, that's a nice question. I mean, I'll give you an example where I was an umpire for one of the grassroots games. It was in the city of Hyderabad, where I went on to umpire the game. The organizers were using a simple mobile app which was tracking the score. So there was a person sitting and tracking the score using this app called Crick Heroes or something. So what previously used to happen is players' scores and all were never digitalized. It was just on an analog paper where somebody would just write it down, and the umpires after the end of the game would validate it by signing it off and saying that, okay, so and so player has scored 50 runs or 100 runs, or one bowler has taken 5 wickets or 6 wickets. So at that time, there was a lot of chance for somebody to tweak those numbers. Somebody who is just scored 30 runs might have been said it is 50 runs. So analog system, we had such kind of problems. But now with the introduction of a mobile app, which was taken by the organizers, we are able to train the scorers, and the scorers themselves are able to train and track the score and the runs of each and every bowler. All the system is taken to the cloud, and we have the selectors sitting over there who can easily access this data. So the data is also validated by the umpires. And of course, whenever there is any selection issue, we can always put a proof saying that, okay, so-and-so batsman has scored these many runs over the season, or a bowler has taken so many wickets, then we have a better chance to take him. So the apps have very nice features like MVP, which is like the performance of a given match, who is performed well, who is top 1, top 2, top 3. All this information is right out there. So these apps have helped players very much. And now for umpires, when it comes to umpires, even umpires are part of the game, and they also have a ladder to climb. So every umpire wants to be at the highest level at an ICC game. So when their assessments are done, of course, we assume that there will be some camera, but I must say that less than 5% of the games in the world have at least a proper mobile phone where it can even take a video of the whole cricket match. So it's unfortunate, but of course, these apps are also helping out, and people are now using their own smartphones, connecting it through Facebook Live so that a video recording is taken. So once you have a video recording, an umpire's positioning during the game will be easily analyzed. So at a given point of time, if a decision of LBW is made, at least we can understand some things like what was the confidence of an umpire through his body language. How confident was he in moving to the right position in making a decision of a run out or a stumping, or how confident was he interacting with players in cases of player behavior. So all these information with the help of video camera can be taken now and can be correlated, and the feedback from the captains together with that of the co-umpire can be taken.
Amazing insights, Harsha. And similar question to you, Nikhil. When we see a lot of performance technology being used, we see so
Yeah.
many companies like, for example, Wall Performance or similar products, the Nordboard, for example. They analyze the fitness parameters of athletes, and these are actually considered now while selecting them in the national teams or the Olympic teams. So before the use of such applications, it was just favoritism being used when the coach likes some particular athlete that was favored over the other. So
Yeah.
how do you think technology has changed this aspect in sports?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the important trends or things I'm noticing is now we are looking in terms of performance, we are looking at the athlete as a whole, where it's not just about your match day performance. It's also, let's say, how you are during training or during the rest of the year. You're also looking at now not just your physical fitness, but you're looking at your sleep, your nutrition, your mental fitness. So there has been growth in the number of applications and in terms of tools that can capture all these different data sets. So I think that allows us to look at an athlete as a complete profile versus just looking at it at sort of disparate intervals in terms of their performance during a tournament or during a match. I think that's one big positive trend that I'm seeing. Secondly, I think I would like to segregate the whole performance tech into two aspects. One is just the tools that we talked about, right? It could be your wearable sensors, non-wearable sensors, force plates, your sort of video-based applications, AR, VR. So mediums through which data is collected. And then the second bucket or the second component is more of the analytics. So what do you do with that data, right? Rohit just talked about benchmarking, right? Standardization. So, and where we are essentially getting into in terms of the whole artificial intelligence, where we can start predicting the performance, we can start predicting injuries, right? So I think on the tools front, I see again a lot of integrations happening where a single application, and that's essentially our vision for SparUp, where how can we be that single platform where we can talk to multiple applications, pull in the data and look at an athlete as a whole. And then secondly, just pure from an analytics standpoint, that how can you help in, let's say, prevention of injuries? How can you help in, let's say, predicting the potential performance of a team, of a player? And then based on that, use all these insights then to present it to a coach or to a scout, then to make a decision whether what is the right team, who should be the right player, how long that player should play, right? Things like that. So I think overall, definitely, I see a positive trend. I see again selectors looking beyond just the match data, and I think that is sort of the way forward.
And to add to Nikhil, Vipul, what I believe, what technology has given now is making everybody accountable in the system.
Mm-hmm.
It is just not the player who is accountable for his performance. It is his coach, his psychotherapist, his physiologist, his injury management team, or his his psychological team who is behind it. So everybody inclusively become accountable for his performance throughout the year. It is not just for that session of not for that next event that he's about to perform. So this is where technology has played a big role.
I totally agree to what you said, Rohit. And truly, technology is changing the way sport is perceived, and people now look at it as a career opportunity in India. Specifically, talking about Indian sport, people look at only cricket, but now they are looking at other sports as well. Uh, so let's talk a bit about financial integrity, because when we talk about finance, there are big events happening in India, big leagues happening, big amount of money being pumped in the sport industry, and we've seen a lot of unethical practices. Even in the IPL, we've seen a lot of betting happening, a lot of financial irregularities happening. So, as a company, how do you tackle such situations in your software? When you design a software, how do you maintain integrity with respect to the financial aspect?
That's for me.
Yeah, for you, Rohit.
So, uh, uh, people, to be honest, we are, as of now, we are more focused on on grassroots sports, because this is where, if the base, what has happened is happened now. Okay, what is now we can improve is at the base level. So we at a grassroots level improving situations uh, where through softwares we are creating accountability and cushioning at a top line into the entire funnel. Okay, and this is where we, in terms of financial fraudery or checking financial leakages, we are creating solutions which work on a grassroots level, where people who are now getting into the trade understands the gravity of data which is now being observed at each point, be it collection of fee, be it collection of uh, your monthly remunerations or your timesheets. It's all been managed now at an event level. Definitely, as a product, we are still working on how we can look into a better, transparent sponsorship coming into picture. How fundraising can also be a part of it. So bettings can be diluted, because if there's a open fundraising, I'm sure betting can always be tackled off. uh, Moving forward, again integrity is a subject which is very personal, and technology is still working out its way to move in the ladder.
Yeah, yeah, rightfully said. Next question for you, Harsha. When we talk about cricket, we've seen some big names, some big players on the field, getting into match fixing, ball tampering, cheating, and all those things, which are unethical, of course. So, how do you see technology has, helped? We've seen recently one of the strongest teams in the world, one of the best,
Yeah.
strongest and best athletes in the world tampering with the ball.
Yeah.
How do you see technology has curbed, these unethical practices?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let me just divide it into two types. I mean, one focusing on the grassroots level. This behavior or the culture needs to be changed. The culture evolved from a very early age for most of these players.
Yeah.
So, for example, when a grassroots player, let's say under 15, under 16, under 17, if he gets to know that there's a way for him to change his runs or change his performance details without, I mean, using unethical practices, then he starts getting into this kind of culture where he believes that even without performance, it's okay for him to go to the next level. So definitely these apps have helped to an extent. And then if this culture promotes, then over a period of time, let's say 5 years or 6 years down the line, we'll have episodes like match fixing, bookies trying to contact with players, and then ball tampering. But ICC and MCC is the body which takes care of the laws of the game, have done a massive change in the year 2017 with respect to the laws. So what I mean is they have introduced a new law, which is called Law Number 42, Players' Conduct. So any case of unethical or unacceptable behavior are being written down in Law 42, and umpires can act immediately on the field of play. Previously, before 2017, there was no chance for an umpire to act for such kind of practices on the field. So from 2017, this has been a massive change, which means umpires can curb those bad behaviors. Bad behaviors, examples of bad behaviors could be, let's say, somebody showing dissent to an umpire's decision, somebody pushing another player, where cricket is, as we all know, it's a non-contact sport. So they get in close contact with them. So such kind of violences can be tackled on the field of play. And going at the highest level, ICC, IPP, IPL games, which is happening, we have a separate body called as Anti-Corruption Unit, ACU, which is under ICC. What it does is it does regular training to all the players and suggests them what are the best practices and desirable characteristics. What happens if a fan approaches you and starts communicating to you, wants to take a selfie picture, and then slowly get into a conversation and maybe attract him with some money. So these kind of conversations are being trained to most of the athletes and players. So they now are more aware and they report it immediately to this ACU unit, which can investigate and make sure that such kind of practices are not being taken. At the same time, as we all know about the Australian saga, uh, For example, all the cameras were easily, we have about 40 different cameras, and it's very tough for anyone to even take a ball tampering kind of thing. So ball tampering is dealt by an umpire on the field of play. So whenever if a case of ball tampering occurs, umpires are alerted by the third umpire, because third umpire has access to all the different angles, and then the broadcasters can convey the message to an umpire, and the umpire will immediately ask the on-field umpires if they have not noticed it, if things happen behind their back. So all these things can be immediately tackled upon. So that's how I think, to an extent, match fixing, betting, and ball tampering have been taken care of.
Yeah. I'm sure, Arsha, the use of such, HD cameras gives the umpires a bird's eye view of the speed and how, such unethical practices can be curbed. And we've also seen, Nikhil, my next question is for you. We've seen a lot of athletes, getting into doping scandals. And how do you think technology has been used to, curb such things?
Sure. So I think technology is primarily being used, I feel, if you sort of break down the whole anti-doping process, right? So one is more along the lines of creating more education, so essentially more on the prevention side. And then secondly, more on the monitoring, the intelligence, and the detection side of things. So there has been sort of development on both the fronts. Starting with the monitoring or detection, I think that over the years, the testing technology or the lab technology, which sort of tests and monitors the samples, I think that has evolved to a point where you can really catch any errors, catch any sort of potential usage of such substances, even at a very minute level. So that's being improved. Secondly, one of the things that the World Anti-Doping Association is planning is they have a lot of longitudinal data. So they have the blood samples, the urine samples, and they have also other information like right from your RBC counts, right? And they have that over now a period of time. So how can they use technologies like machine learning to really analyze the data from a longitudinal standpoint and then take preventive actions going forward by noticing any difference in sort of a specific sample that's collected from an athlete, right? From a education or the prevention standpoint, also I see a lot of good work happening in the sense using digital platforms, e-learning platforms to really get the message out to the elite as well as to the youth and the sub-elite groups, where there's some really fun and engaging content currently on several websites. WADA has their own sort of a e-learning program for athletes, for coaches, for various stakeholders. So I think that's the second front where through technology you can reach to athletes in any part of the globe and educate them. And that's one of the things that any organization that's working at the youth level also sort of using online media, social media to promote the right kind of usage to educate the players into what sort of what substances to avoid. I think that's going to be a critical thing going forward. But I see action happening from a technology standpoint in both these verticals.
Great. And I think taking action on doping is much needed, and technology can rightfully be used to do that. So a very good point of view, Nikhil. Thank you for that. My next question would be to Rohit. Rohit, now when we see so many applications and softwares being developed, you yourself are part of a company which develops, data management softwares for grassroots level organizations, sport organizations specifically. So eventually, like we discussed, the end user is a human who's handling all this data. So what are the chances of someone fidgeting with the data or tampering with the data? What systems do you place as a software developer to avoid such unethical practices at the back end?
So we have to go to a root cause of why people tamper data. Okay. So, and somebody who's putting data, why he has done it. Okay. So if I segregate that, it can be one as he was not vigilant enough at that moment so that he can capture that data there and then, or he was biased to someone. Okay. The third thing I can possibly think of is he just randomly, because of his past knowledge, randomly filled up the data just to be avoiding the situation. Okay, so what we did, or companies like us are doing, is we are creating check and balance for each parameter. Say for an example, a person with a by my kind of a weight cannot run 100 meters in 8 seconds or 10 seconds. And if somebody has filled up by mistake or by his own incompetency that Rohit Mishra has run 800 meters in 10 seconds, there's something that needs to be checked out. So we are keeping that check and balances right time at the time when we are fixing up that performance set in the system. And somebody who is knowledgeable enough, who understands that this should be the right parameter for a weight like Rohit Mishra to run, can the system will automatically alert, or will not allow that data to enter even. So we at our end don't allow that data to enter, and this is where we push that incompetence to go back in the field and recapture the data. Okay, so I'm sure every product in the world, I'm not only a cadware, everybody who is more focused on data sanitization is putting check and balances in their core coding. And this is where, and second is what we have done is we are right now created a platform where, or companies like us now created a platform where you can fill up your own parameters, just to make sure that your interest in putting the data is there. Okay, so as of now, it is more of an educational uh, journey. And once people understand the gravity of data, the people who are filling up that data, I'm sure they will automatically get synced to those checks and balances, and then we will have a less of an error. And IoTs, definitely IoTs, if as IoTs are also becoming a part of our system, they are reducing that workload. So there are certain things which can be taken care by IoTs right now. So that data can always it is unbiased. If I put up a shot from a tennis bat, it is recorded, so nobody can challenge that force. So all we are doing is creating that best parameter in the product so that the check and balances can be managed.
Okay, so basically you mean to say that you are going to standardize the checking norms which
Definitely.
go into the system. To
Any system should do that. Any system should do that, because if you don't do it right now, then there will no parity in the system across.
Harsha, my next question is to you. Like
Yeah.
you've been part of so many international events. You have been officiating or umpiring at many cricket matches, and like you said earlier, companies claim 95% of the decisions with technology are correct, but there is some error, some room for
Yeah.
human error, that is 5%. So, what according to you should be improved? Specific to cricket technology, which can go close to say 98 or 99% accuracy in decision making.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, the first thing is extensive testing. So when I say extensive testing, it must be done at a grassroots level, where any technology which is being trying to being used, let's say in 5 years down the line, it must be tested right today at the grassroots level, because in the grassroots level, we have various scenarios where funny things happen. All kinds of no balls, LBWs, or anything related to the game of cricket happen a lot at that level, because everyone is trying to learn. And even if somebody makes a mistake, there is enough time for everyone to cover those mistakes, learn from it, and get over top of it. So testing is the first thing. And then of course getting a lot of data. getting this data is also a big challenge for let's say data scientists who are really working out on all these solutions. I've spoken with few data scientists who claim that they don't have access to this data, which is only in the hands of few certain broadcasters who are having let's say a sponsorship deal or a deal for broadcasting for that particular year. So those are the people who have access to the data, which can be made open source. So once the data becomes open source, there will be more people around who can come and start innovating and play with the data and come up with exciting insights. So these are a few steps I think definitely technology can be worked on.
Okay. Thank you for that insight. Nikhil, next question is to you. Like when we see talk about performance technology, how accurate are these technologies, and how much should a coach or support staff rely on performance assessment technologies? Because eventually now when we say in this technological age, most of the decisions on field are taken with the help of analysis being done on the data received from these technologies. So, how much accurate are these technologies, and what do you think should be improved with respect to performance technology?
Sure. So I think to start off with, I really believe that the coaches or the managers who are looking at this data, the first step is really to sort of go back and think that what sort of parameters do they really need to make whatever decision they want to make, whether it's team selection, whether it's sort of increasing the fan base for the club, if it's a team manager, right? So I think the idea is if you start off with a specific set of data parameters, coming to the more on the performance side, whether let's say you are looking at a heart rate, you're looking at your hydration, you're looking at let's say your fitness levels, right? And then based on these parameters which are relevant to the sport, what tools can help you get that information? So coming back to your question, I think most of the sensor-based technology is relatively more accurate than if you look at directly sort of a manual input into a mobile application or uploading your data through a CSV or Excel, right? Things like that. So a sensor-based approach, I would definitely feel sort of more comfortable with in terms of the whole data accuracy side of things. Again, another point I would sort of highlight here is the data should be looked at across a period of time, where even if you, let's say, take an example of a heart rate monitor, right? Looking at just a small sample size to then make a decision whether your fitness level is improving or not, right? May not be sort of very helpful. So if you probably collect data over 3 months, 6 months, year, depending on, again, what stage the athlete is, that would, again, help sort of remove those potential outliers in that data set and sort of help normalize that. So I think these two approaches in combination, using more of a sensor-based approach and then sort of data collection over a period of time, can help sort of address potential inaccuracies in the system. Hope that sort of addresses the question.
Thank you, Nikhil, for that. So before we go on to answer the questions from the audience, one last question to all three of you would be: how do you think technology going in the future is going to help promote integrity in sport and just practices, or curb betting, or say even racism is coming up big time in sport now? It has already been there, but then how do you think all these all these unethical practices can be curbed, and integrity as a very fundamental and functional part of sports can be promoted and maintained? So Harsha, your view on that? How do you think technology has a say in this?
Definitely. I mean, first thing is, as we all know, cricket is called a gentleman's game, and the preamble to the laws of the game is spirit of cricket. The spirit of cricket talks about respect. So it must be in the form of education first. All the players must be well educated to be said that, okay, these are the best practices, these are undesirable behaviors and characteristics. So there should be a very good education program given to all the cricketers, right from the grassroots all the way till their higher levels of reaching the international cricket. The same applies with scorers, umpires, and groundsmen. What are the best educational practices in the case of spirit of cricket? So that's the core where cricket is run. And of course, on top of it, whenever we come across a video replay or things which are shown on a match, players have to question that and see, okay, if this is a kind of unethical practice, undesirable characteristic, so they can use that as an opportunity to know and perhaps apply it in their own game and take a step out of it. For example, Australian players were banned for 5 years in this case. So the code of conduct came into picture. So now the ICC fans are also very happy that a process was followed and there was democracy involved in it. And finally, a result was achieved in cases of such kind of ball tampering issues. So definitely education. And at the same time, whenever there is a kind of act which is caught that needs to be punished by the organizers of the game, when I say organizers, it could be the first step will be the umpires punishing it on the field if it falls under the laws of the game. And then the next step would be the match referees who would apply the code of conduct, which basically tests the strength of character of any sportsman. And then if both of them fail or if it's a too complex issue, then we also have the ICC board management who can look into those things like the Australian saga.
Yeah, thank you, Harsha, for your insights. Nikhil, what do you think about how technology is going to change the way sport is looked at as a fair play or maintaining the true meaning of sportsmanship?
Absolutely. So I think there is when it comes to use of technology, there is sort of a pro and a con. I would like to talk about both. So in terms of the benefits, as I think talked about throughout our discussion today, I feel within integrity, technology will play a very positive role, especially when it comes to inclusiveness and transparency. So making sure all the athletes are able to get access to the right experts, inclusive fan development and fan engagement, making sure that the content is accessible to anybody in any part of the world, and making sure all the people are sort of on the same page, they're connected, and ability to make the right interventions because things are more transparent. I think technology has a very positive role to play on these fronts. On the other side of things, just to sort of give a more holistic view, technology, as I said, is more of a assistive or it's a way to sort of help all the stakeholders and empower the stakeholders. In fact, there's a term called technology doping, where excess use of technology that can provide certain advantages to a certain section. I think that is something that has to be sort of looked at more closely. There have been incidents in the past, whether it's certain equipment, certain apparel that has provided unfair advantage to a certain section. I think corrective actions have been taken. So I think the growth and innovation in technology is extremely important as long as we realize that it's for everybody and it's a level playing field and not just for a certain section of the population.
Yeah, rightfully said. Your take, Rohit, your take on this particular aspect.
So, the best or a pros of a technology, or the best thing that technology has done has given a empowered athlete to ask why. And that why is very important, because that why is creating that accountability in the entire system. So that why has given him reason to look for other options in his life. Okay, so with that, why is where technology is helping him. He can cross check his performances. He can do a gap analysis. He can do a lot of things with that data that he's been collecting. And what I believe, it should be technology should be available to the common man. So and it could be the sensor based. I'm more talking about the sensor based technology. I'm more looking forward. I'm very bullish that over the years it is still a very affordable product, but then IoTs or sensor based technology should go a little more to the last man and should reduce down in terms of cost. If it reduces on in terms of cost, products like us can do an inclusive program, and more input of data at a grassroots level or a baseline level can be captured. And this is where what Harsha said, testing can actually put in place. And I'm very bullish about technology moving forward.
Yeah, very important point highlighted by Rohit, that technology should be available for each and every person. It shouldn't be available for any particular set of people, and that's where fair and integrity aspect comes into play. And before we end today's session, let's take a few questions. So there is a question for you, Harsha, from one of the viewers. Importance is given only to cricket and technology is not given for other sports in India. So that's a very common question we might come across in India. So when do we expect similar importance given to all other sports in India? This is asked by Dr. Shreyas Gaikwad.
Okay, the technology, as I said, is for the people currently who have a lot of money, to put it in simple words. So since cricket has achieved a lot of fame because of fans in here, and it has about 1 billion fans, because of so many eyeballs, they were able to get lots of sponsorship deals. So there's a lot of money, which means they can provide money for broadcasters to get these so-called technologies, which is only applied at the elite level. So it all depends on getting the fans for a particular sport. I would believe if cricket is in this situation because over 1990, early 1990s, where Jagmohan Dalmia, who became the president, he started bringing in the so-called money through different ways, and of course through IPL, we got a lot of money. So now broadcasters are able to innovate and research on that particular technology. So I would hope that I'm a hoper, and I would hope that most of the other sports also will be able to revenue and generate money for all these broadcasters to bring in some technologies.
Yeah, thank you, Harsha, for that insight. So one important aspect before we come to the end of this session, I would like to highlight for all our viewers and for all our speakers as well is, if we take, for example, the Indian context of sport development, and when we talk about sport development, it should be a sport development pattern which is supported through integrity and fair play. So we've seen around 15 plus, leagues being played in India, which is phenomenal. And the rise of Indian sport has been on an exponential graph all over these, last few years. So I think, use of technology has seriously played a big role. Like Harsha highlighted, we got the IPL and, a lot of money came in the IPL, and taking inspiration from the IPL, all other sports, like say a very basic sport like kabaddi, took inspiration from the IPL and started the Pro Kabaddi League. Sport which was played in tier 2, tier 3 cities is now played on a national level, and a country of 1.3 billion people has access to the Pro Kabaddi League on the television sets. So this is something phenomenal. And we've seen athletes who were not, being given that stardom, who didn't have access to facilities, who didn't have access to the best of the technologies, have now got an opportunity to showcase their talent. So I think this is what we should learn from the Indian example of sport development, and how integrity can be used to promote sports for all. And I'm sure, like all of you have highlighted in your specific talks, that technology is for all and not for any small unit or any small community. So I think it's a very democratic approach towards using technology, and I believe it will surely develop sports in India and all over the world. So once again, I thank all of you to join in for this amazing session, and it was wonderful to have all of you talking about different aspects. Harsha, your experience from the creating world has really given us good insights. Nikhil, your knowledge about performance technology was amazing, and Rohit, your knowledge about how data is managed has really given us a very good insight about how technology can be used to promote integrity in sport. So thank you once again, and
thank you so much, Vipul, for moderating the panel as well.
Thank you so much, Vipul. It was amazing.
Yes, thank you, Vipul.
And from all of us, a very big thanks to SIGA for organizing the Sports Integrity Week. This has been a fantastic idea to get all top speakers on this global platform. Thank you once again. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for listening.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you very much indeed for that panel. Fascinating focus from the region of India, looking at technology. And that's one of the themes of the day here. It is day 4 of Sport Integrity Week. My masterclass, Ben Jacobs, with you. Very much looking forward to the rest of the day. We've got loads coming up. Casey Simmons from SIGA, the COO of SIGA Americas, will be up in round about 20 minutes time with a keynote and fireside chat. So we'll be able to bring you that. We're delighted to have a full program throughout the course of the day. So Katie will be up at 10:30 GMT, 11:30 CET, talking to Ahmed Al-Khattab, who's the director of Assurance Business Development at the British Standards Institute, or BSI, and they've been working with us on our SIGA Independent Verification Ratings System, and you can learn more about that on our website. I'll give you details throughout the day of how you can donate as well to SIGA if you'd like to help define our strategy and support us as a non-profit organisation, and the hashtag that you need to use is SIW. Just a reminder as well of the afternoon programme. Afternoon, if you're on CE time, that is, so afternoon CET, that's 11 o'clock GMT. We've got Integrity Reputation, Getting a Competitive Advantage in Sport. That will be moderated by Paul Nicholson, the editor of Inside World Football. And then after that, we've got Shimon Cohen, a fascinating panel, 1:15 CET, 12:15 GMT, and that's entitled Operation No More Abuse in Sports, Using Technology, like I say, that's our theme of the day, and real-world tactics to prevent racism and other forms of abuse. And delighted to say that Sanjay Bandari, the chairman of Kick It Out, is a part of that panel. So do stay with us. We'll be back in about half an hour for Katie Simmons's Fireside Chat.